So, Justice League Gods and Monsters, the big multimedia project from DC, which involves movies and, of course, these tie-in comics, which I am now reviewing. I reviewed the first issue of the Batman theme tie-in on the Comic Book Cast, which you can find the link right down here. I figured because the movie was out, no one was really going to care about these, but I just hate to leave things half finished, so I decided to combine issues 2 and 3 of the Batman book and do them all at once. As we dig on in with Dr. Kirk Langstrom, scientist turned vampire turned grim vigilante, he's dealing with the mob problem in Gotham, mainly Lou Moxon, who is a reference to Golden Age Batman stories. His criminal empire spans the whole city and he's incredibly influential. So influential, in fact, that when he finds out one of his own men, Rupert Thorne, is skimming off the top, he tells him to kill himself, and he totally does it. Batman makes short work taking out all the guards. He does so, of course, in an incredibly bloody fashion. I mean, after all, he's a vampire, so needs a little snack, doesn't he, right? The one thug that he has a much harder time with, though, is Moxon's personal bodyguard, a thug by the name of Joe Chill. Yep, that's right. The man who killed Batman's parents, now working as a mob enforcer here in this world. We're told that Chill actually has some sort of horrible disease that would have killed him young anyway, and because of that it gave him a really fractured view of life and death, which meant that he had no problem killing people. And hey, because this Batman has no problem killing people, he puts the whole vampire bite on him before taking Moxon out once and for all. The strange thing, though, is after Moxon's death, Batman is given no peace. In fact, he actually hangs around Moxon's funeral and sees his grieving family. And he is completely taken with this, fascinated, especially by Moxon's son, who by all accounts was a good man, a man of the community, a smart man like himself, who loved his father very much and is deeply saddened by his death. And as a scientist, Langstrom really wants to understand this. How can a man's family love him if he was a monster? Obviously, this reflecting his own problems that he was having. He actually gets to know the son. They become quick friends and actually start hanging out. So it comes as a major shock when Moxon's son's mother is actually killed by a rival crime family. Now, doing the only thing he can, Langstrom as Batman jumps into the fray to try and get to the bottom of this and trying to get revenge on the people who did this. In doing so, he finds out that there are actually two warring factions hoping to take over from where Moxon left off. One is ruled by a man calling himself the Sovereign, who, as we find out, is actually Joe Chill back from the grave. His disease actually allowing him to absorb some of Kirk Langstrom's own vampirism, turning him essentially into a vampiric creature on his own, which means that Batman now officially has someone who can fight him on his own terms. And he does. In the end, he actually can't overpower him. He only wins the fight by dismembering him. Hey, some would call that cheating. I call that to be very, very creative. However, this story doesn't have a happy ending, because as we find out, the other mobster who was vying for control of the Gotham underworld, well, that was Moxon's son. His whole facade of being a good guy, being a man of the community, that was a giant lie. And in doing so, Kurt ends up losing his only friend. And the comic ends with him crushed, broken. In summation, Justice League Gods and Monsters, Batman number 2 and number 3 are a very strong outing for these stories. I like the way that it takes the trappings of your standard Batman story, Joe Chill, dead parents, and kind of moves it around just a little bit. Yeah, Joe Chill's in the story, and two parents died, but it wasn't Bruce Wayne's parents. And yet still these were all contributing factors into why Kirk Langstrom became the Batman that he did. Why he kind of shut down, became a lot darker and colder because he felt misused and abused and really felt like a monster, and because of his own actions, a monster is what he became. I really liked the art in this book. I thought it was fittingly dark and gothic for the story they were telling. All in all, this was a really fun read. I give this one an 8.5. This was good stuff.